call our city council meeting to order and ask everyone to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And we have 3 members of Cub Scout Troop 101. Would you please come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Come on, all the way up here. All the way up here. Yeah. You can do the podium later, but I'll come on up here first to start, okay? Okay, ready?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Now, would you go to the podium and pull the microphone down a little bit? Do we have a stool for the guys to stand on? No, we don't. Okay. All right, why don't you introduce yourselves? Each of you tell us your names.
I'm Adam.
Hi, I'm Jacob.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And now, what program were you working on that brought you here this evening?
We're working to build a better world, and we're supposed to meet with a government leader.
Okay, so you're meeting with a whole bunch of government leaders here. This is the city council. I'm the mayor. This is our city treasurer, Mr. Corin, over here. This is our city clerk, John Ragona, right here. She keeps track of all the minutes here and the notes that go on. And then all of the aldermen around the table. We have Alderman Schauer, who is from Ward 1. Then we have, Alderman Belkey's not here. She's the missing chair there, the chair with the missing person. That's Alderman Belkey. She's not here this evening. Ward 3 is Alderman Kenny. Ward 4 is Alderman Klistic. Ward 5 is Alderman Marquez. And Alderman McIver is Ward 6. And Alderman Belzec is Ward 7. Do you guys know which ward you live in? Oh, all right. Okay. I understand you have some questions for us. Go ahead.
How long were you mayor?
I've been mayor since 2005. I was the acting mayor in 2005 when Alderman Soldado resigned, and the city council chose me to complete his term. And then I became the mayor in 2007, and I was reelected in 2011, and then 2015. So I've been here those many years. Did you have another question?
No.
Okay.
What made you become a mayor?
Oh, it's a crazy reason, I'll tell you. I used to own an apartment building, a 6-flat on Woodland Drive in Darien, and we had to replace the roof on the apartment building. And I thought, what kind of crazy codes do they have in this city that makes a brand new building need a brand new roof? And I came in to meet the mayor, and it was Mayor Stramalia at the time. And I wanted to get on the planning committee, or the planning and zoning committees at those times. And instead he put me on the Citizen of the Year committee. And that was the start of my career in politics, on the Citizen of the Year. That year I ran for alderman in 1987, and I've been here ever since. So, crazy reason, huh? The roof on my house. Okay, and next question?
Does Darien have any energy problems or issues?
Energy problems. I don't think so. I think we have all the utilities that all of us we use. Do you think we have an alderman? Oh, okay. Well, we're changing over our city lights to LED lights to conserve energy. Is that one of them? Okay. Alderman McIver, you got some suggestions?
Well, I would say the water. We buy water from the city of Chicago, and that's Lake Michigan water, and it's becoming the mayor of Chicago has been increasing the prices, so it's becoming more and more expensive to use water. So water conservation, I think, is really a focus for residents now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good one.
A number of years ago, we had a power outage for, 3 to 4 days. We had a fire at one of our substations.
2005.
2005, and what the mayor at that time did, what we did is we actually filed a lawsuit against Commonwealth Edison
which forced them to come out and really examine our infrastructure. And what they did is, over the years, they've had to report back to us about new underground lines and new overhead lines. And I think the city of Darien's been well served by that in terms of fewer power outages, even though we still have them. I think things have improved a lot since that time.
It was, definitely. We are, pardon the pun, we're light years ahead of other communities in DuPage County with better electrical service than
And I think
others.
we're getting smart meters throughout the city,
Right.
so with those meters, a resident can probably have more control over how their power is used in their home.
Good, yeah, you can tell your mom and dads to sign on to the smart meter program. They can actually program their energy in their homes from their cell phone. So there's a program that they can get on to do that. So any other questions, guys?
I think that's it.
Gee, thanks for coming out, and those are great questions too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. Where do you guys all go
Oh,
to school?
here we got some pins for you. You can put these on. Do you guys have the badge thing with all your badges on them? Okay. Why don't you come up? You can add one more to your.
Center Cass,
Word.
I would say.
Ward
this is-
Ward
You guys-
6, huh? Are they all? What school do they all go
Are
to?
they,
I see you at Our Lady of Peace all the time.
He goes to Kingswood and we live in Orland Park, actually.
Okay.
Wow, you come a long way.
How old are you guys? 10.
Okay.
Who goes to Kingswood? Do you know Rachel Reeder? Rachel goes there. She's a young lady whose mother's in the Lions Club.
it's not TV now.
It's a girl, Mom.
That's okay.
Don't
I
push it,
asked
okay?
the question.
He's blushing. Oh golly.
I'm
Okay.
sorry I asked.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much for coming out. That's really great. Let's move on to. Okay, roll. We haven't even taken the roll yet. All right.
Kenny,
Here.
Marquez,
Here.
McIver,
Here,
Shower,
Here.
Belkey, Belzak,
Here.
Clistic,
Here.
6 present.
We have a quorum. The next item is questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. Do any of the aldermen have any questions, comments, announcements at this point? We have an audience, a very small audience, but does anyone in the audience have any questions for us? Okay, let's move on to the approval of the minutes of November 7th, 2016. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Marquez, seconded by Alderman Kenny. Any additions or deletions? Then the roll, please.
Marquez,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Clistic,
Aye.
Belzak,
Aye.
Shower,
Aye.
McIver,
aye.
6 ayes.
The minutes have been approved. Let's move to receiving of communications. Do any of the aldermen have some? Alderman Marquez, let's start with you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Saturday I was over here because we had a distribution of pies over at the police department. And Larry Smith stopped in and he wanted to compliment the city on any effort they made to get North Frontage Road done. Larry said he thought the road looked beautiful. He was happy. He didn't mind that it took a little extra to get it done. He says, but you know, it works well, and he was very happy about it. And as I communicated to Dan, Vicky Sosha, one of our friends, Darien resident, was asking if they were finished with the tree replacement program yet, because she's still waiting for her tree in her parkway. And Dan said those should be done, what, this week or next week?
This week, with the holiday schedule, probably run into next week, yes.
Okay.
Okay, Alderman Kenny, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I received a communication from Eugene Cachapo at 7702 Adams Street regarding his sanitary sewer repair. He's been in contact with Mr. Gombach's office to take care of that.
Okay. Okay, any other communication? Alderman McIver?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just received a concern about leaves being put in the street. I know it's been on Darien Connect and on the Darien Facebook page, but just reminding residents to not put their leaves in the street because of potential to block the drainage. Anything else to add to that, Dan?
It also creates hazards, especially when they become slippery and people don't
Icy.
expect, obviously piles of leaves in the roadway, so.
And, yeah, in one case, it was actually right on the bike path, so it was, they were pretty, substantial. And then the other one, of course, this morning, we got a complaint regarding the warehouse construction, which was passed along to the city, so hopefully residents are aware that the city is trying to resolve that issue.
Yes, and the developer has been notified.
He's been, actually, he was fined this morning, $500.
Okay. Any other communications to share? I have a couple. I received a thank you card from Father Peter McGarry regarding the light at Bailey and Plainfield. Very happy about that. Also, I received a phone call from a resident, Dominic Rapaldi, regarding that very intersection, and his concern was that the sight lines are affected by the fence, the brick and metal fence on that condominium building right on the southwest corner of Plainfield and Bailey. He felt the sight lines were inadequate for cars. He believes that residents cannot see oncoming traffic from the eastbound lanes if he was on Bailey Road beginning to make a turn. Now, obviously, it's a stoplight, so that has something to do with it. But I asked Dan, I guess you've been communicating with the county regarding this, and what is the response? Did you personally talk to Mr. Rapaldi?
Yes, I did. I had
Okay.
a conversation with him, and I happened to pull it up this evening here. On November 1st is when we had the first conversation with Mr. Rapalti. Forwarded that concern back to DuPage County. Kent Cooper, which is the engineer for the county that was assigned to this project. Again, the concern is when you're at northbound Bailey Road at Plainfield and you attempt to move forward, the eastbound, there's a pillar, a brick pillar, which is part of a fence monument for the condo association to the left there, or the southeast corner. Then when you pull into the intersection, that pillar blinds you from potential eastbound traffic. Again, while it's a controlled intersection at this point, the county did look at everything, and they felt that the engineering on it, there is no hazard at this time at all. And that was corresponded back via email to Mr. Rapalti.
When the roadway was improved and expanded, did that do anything to change the easement and cause that fence to become too close to the roadway? Or I guess I'm asking, was that fence allowed to be there because it's been there so long, grandfathered in?
It's been there. I believe it's gone through a building permit process more recently, but the monuments, the brick monuments that were in place then, from years ago, were still the same ones. A couple may have been remodeled. But as far as any type of easement acquisition from the county, there was no easements in that particular corner that we're aware of at all. There was some geometric reconfigurations, and that was more on the northern side, as well as the lane markings and the stop arm may have been moved further back to accommodate pedestrians. So that's really the only thing that's changed on the northbound Bailey.
You talking the southwest corner?
No, yeah, southwest corner.
Yeah.
That
Sorry,
kind
I
of
said east, southwest, excuse me,
the
southwest, yes.
Now, today, they were out there today, and they erected some, wouldn't that complicate it even more? Because those things actually come out a little further. than
You
the
would think
fence.
so.
Yeah. They put one on the south east corner, and they put one on the southwest.
Put what? What are we
Correct.
talking about?
It's handrails,
They're handrails. There's like concrete, and there's handrails in that.
galvanized handrails. That's due to the drop-off that could not be landscaped
I
in
didn't see 'em
a
today.
fashion that's,
Just put into that.
was a drop-off, approximately anywhere from 6-inch to 1-foot drop-off.
And those are actually out further than the fence.
Dan, I think this is where the county suggested, though, you could stop at the stop line at a red light but then you could creep up, in which time you have a better vision of the traffic.
Correct.
Should the
No,
stop bar be moved up?
No, then it conflicts with the pedestrians. I think it's permissible, because you stop at the stop bar, and before you just turn, you creep up a little, and then you could see, because that, your line of sight is fine, you're ahead of that post, if I'm remembering what the county suggested.
Okay, well, that was the concern of the resident that,
Actually, the stop line, they changed it so that if you're in the right-hand lane, you're up a little bit ahead of the car that's gonna make a left-hand turn onto Plainfield Road. Because in the past, before that stop line was there, you had cars, you might have an SUV here in the left-hand lane.
Right.
You were in the right-hand lane, and you almost had to creep out into Plainfield Road to see anybody from the east. So one of the reasons we pushed for the light was to curb that problem. When they were gonna put the stop lines in, I asked Dan, are they gonna do it in such a way where it's more on the angles where these cars are, and he said, yes, they were, and they are like that.
But if the traffic is stopped
I don't know what
going
his issue is
eastbound,
with
why, why is that? Because you're not obviously going to be creeping out.
A right turn on red.
Oh,
I think that's the question.
he's referring to the left-
really on the
he's
left-hand,
he's
the left-hand turn.
It should
Well,
not
when
be
he's
an
turning
issue with
left
the
on-
left hand,
Right.
because you're not gonna go anywhere till
I
it's
could
green
see,
anyway.
I could see it, right? I could see what Alderman Marquez said. If you've got an SUV sitting on that left lane and you're trying to make the right going on northbound Plainfield Road, I don't know. I can't get my head around that.
The issue where where the stop bar was, if that stop bar was there, let's say before the lights went in, and that stop bar was as it is today, yes, there's definitely a concern. But with the controlled intersection, it's less of a concern, if a concern at all.
Before they put the stoplight in, if you stopped at that line, you could not see anywhere to the left.
Right. You
Okay, so you had to move on out
Creep
into
out,
traffic.
right.
So it was more dangerous before
Right.
the stoplight goes into it.
okay,
So
all right. Good, thank you, I appreciate that.
I'll forward that email back to you. I don't know if I don't think you were carbon copied on that one.
Did
Mayor.
Mr. Rapaldi email you?
I emailed the county.
Because I just have his phone number, that's all.
Yeah, I'll forward you the correspondence
Okay.
that took place.
Okay, thank you. All right, if there's no other communication, communications, we'll move on. The mayor's report, and I have no report this evening, and so we'll move to the city clerk's report.
Just one item, Madam Mayor. The Darien city offices will be closed on Thursday, November the 24th, and on Friday, November 25th, in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday.
City administrator's report?
No report, Mayor. Thank
All
you.
right, let's move on to department head information. Chief Thomas has the October report. Did you want to come up and make the report? Oh, okay. You weren't getting up right away, so I wasn't sure if you were going to stay there.
Actually, Madam Mayor, he's celebrating his 1 year on the job.
Today's 1 year. Congratulations. I don't know, condolences or congratulations. I don't know which.
Mayor, on my behalf, Jacob was going to speak here real quick. Go ahead.
No report, Madam Mayor, but I would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Oh, that's from Municipal Services Director Gombeck. Thank you, Director Gombeck.
I want to hear his questions. I want to get an answer from him, not you.
All right, well, let the chief speak first, and then let's see if I have any questions for Dan.
There was a couple things I put into the monthly report this time. One was about drop-off pickup at school. A lot of people get frustrated around this time of the year, especially when school starts back in session. And you have schools that are generally designed for kids to walk to school, not driving a lot, busing a lot, and pedestrians. And then you get a mix of buses, cars, and kids, and it's not a good mix sometimes. And so schools get contact with the police. We talk about routes and parking and drop-off, pickups, and those type of things, trying to make it work best can. The schools try to communicate with parents, give them general reminders about being nice in the public. Sometimes that doesn't work, and sometimes it has to come down to just some enforcement and trying to keep people from blocking roadway or driveways, blocking fire hydrants and the such. So I think at a couple of locations, that's where we're at.
And I think Alderman Belzak and I received the email from Claudia Manley,
Yeah.
who happens to live on 69th Street. And have we taken any enforcement action on that roadway yet?
They are not yet, no, but we
Okay.
will.
Right.
If
Well-
it calls for it, if there's people
Well,
blocking the
her
roadway.
opinion was she lives and she couldn't get in and out of her driveway, and she asked
And that's
the
problematic.
cars to move, and they wouldn't.
Yeah, that's problematic.
Go ahead.
So my question is, do you think how we have it set up now is sufficient as long as people follow the rules, and that we don't need to change anything? We just need to enforce it?
Correct.
Okay.
You know, we'll talk about it in a second, talk about problem-oriented policing, trying to get to the root cause of things and to try to make it work. And so, you know, the schools and the police got together and figured out that traffic pattern best you can to make that traffic work and the parking work and all those other things. And then, you know, people don't want to be last, they want to be first. So sometimes when, you know, pickup times at 3 o'clock or 5 minutes till, they'll start lining up at 2:30, blocking roadways because they want to be first in, first out, and have no patience. So sometimes they need a gentle nudge to remind them. So, Hinsdale South, obviously that was an issue for a while, and the individual that was involved there is not residing in Darien any longer or going to school in Darien. Talked about burglary in motor vehicles. We've talked about that probably every time. Continue to talk about it. I had, I think the 13th, 14th, and 16th, there were 8 more vehicle burglaries. Every one of them were from an unlocked car. Most of them, nothing was taken. A couple of them, you know, small change, $2 was taken. One had tools and one had a laptop or something taken. Again, all unsecured. Not sure how to get residents to lock their stuff up, but if you don't, your stuff's going to be gone. It's plain and simple.
Yeah.
Just lock your stuff up. We would reduce burglaries to motor vehicles probably by 80% or more. So. Earlier in the year, in August, that same crew that was coming out doing a lot of vehicle burglaries stole one car and committed one armed robbery. That individual has been arrested. Back in August, we had a drug-induced homicide. And that's a little bit different than a traditional murder where there's intent or knowledge. There needs to be some type of mental state. The drug-induced homicide doesn't require that. It's just merely providing the illegal drug, to the individual that causes death. And so we had one of those in August. Detectives did a good job following up on that. They had to go to New York in order to get a hold of the suspect and make that arrest. That individual is back in Illinois and in his custody. One thing I talked about quite a bit is, in a couple different sessions, is this concept of problem-oriented policing. And that concept is to look at problems in terms of harm and in terms of getting to the root cause of the situation. I gave an example of a prior police department I worked at, and we kept having accidents at this location at Galena and Orchard in Aurora. And it's very similar to the conversation we just had about Plainfield and Bailey, where cars would pull up, they couldn't see down the road, they would make the right-hand turn, get in a crash, we had troubles. You know, try to enforce it, not changing driver behavior. So we sent an officer there to look at driver behavior, what's going on at this intersection that's causing these accidents. Came back and says, it's a pretty simple fix to me. The stop bar for through traffic is ahead of the stop bar for right turn traffic. If you reverse those so that the right turn can see down northbound on Orchard Road, you're going to reduce accidents. And that was what we did, and that's what happened. The accidents reduced. So there's a lot of different ways of looking at and trying to fix a problem. And we have sent personnel to training on problem-oriented policing, and we're putting a single person in charge of parking and traffic issues to look at those type of things to come up with a good solution, and one that's permanent fix, where enforcement's not going to happen. And like we talked earlier, sometimes it gets to a point where the things have been looked at and it's just enforcement that's going to change behavior. Then we go to that direction, but try to get to a point where the problem has been reduced and solved or resolved significantly.
So Chief, are you saying that the issue that we were, Alderman Belzak and I were aware of on 69th Street, is that one of the traffic issues that are going to go to the sergeant to take a look to see if there's better solutions?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it seems to me like a lot of things have happened there. It's been looked at, it's been reminded, so now it comes to a point where just enforcement in order to try to reverse that trend.
Okay.
And I think that's probably where we're at now. The sergeant that's been assigned will take a look at that.
Okay.
I brought it up before, we talked about alarms. Alarms are up 18%, 678 false alarms. It's a lot of officers' time being spent there. I'm looking at the ordinance and looking at the fee structure, see if we can't do something better there in order to reduce some of those alarms and get officers doing what they need to be doing versus chasing false calls.
We do have an ordinance regarding that, don't we?
Yeah, but I think the fine is like $25. It's, it's the price of doing business. At some point in time, you're going to have to charge enough to stop the false calls.
And it kicks in after one false alarm, doesn't it?
Third.
Third, okay.
Yes.
On your report, I think you're off by a decimal place because you have Citizens Assist for October of 2015, 70, and October 26, 87. You have 1,007%. I think it's probably 107%. So I see a lot of those are in 1,000%.
Where is that?
Top 10 incident categories.
Page 3.
Page 3.
Yeah. Top
So you have
10
1,000% on a lot of those. I think you're off just by a decimal place.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
1,000 would be 870
Yes.
versus 87.
Okay. Thank you. On the next page, page 4, you'll see crime prevention's up about 12%, traffic enforcement up about 16%, parking enforcement up about 39%. So those good numbers to see. Community engagement's up 9%. So that's nice to see overall. The officer-initiated activities coming in line with what we want them to do. You've seen some that are drop down, focused patrol. Don't like seeing that number, but remember, we redefine that in order to stop gaming the system. And
what is I have a
it's
check
the
mark.
same
What
thing
is
as
focused patrol?
it's, a lot of people use directed patrol, different types of things. So when you identify a hot spot or hot person, then you're taking initiative to deal with that. Just going to a place that had a burglary the day before, that doesn't make a trend or a statistical variance, so there's nothing reason to do that. But I did a burglary report yesterday, so now I'm going to go sit there and read a magazine. I'm going to get credit for a directed patrol. It doesn't work anymore.
I had a question on page 3 also, Chief.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
The item I have it marked as suspicion. Is that actually our residents calling in when they see something suspicious?
Correct. A suspicious person, suspicious vehicle, or suspicious circumstance.
Is that a marked improvement, or is that an improvement? I think that's what we were hoping to see from our residents, that they would call our police department when they see something suspicious.
Yeah, I think it's statistically insignificant. It's 0.2. It's one more year to date this year than there was last year. I don't believe that's any kind of improvement.
We'd like to see it much greater than that, wouldn't we?
Well, that's a hard thing to say because it's an output, not an outcome. So you have to have suspicious people, suspicious vehicle, or suspicious circumstances to call in. If there's nothing suspicious, then they're not calling in. So it's an answer I can't answer.
Yeah.
Mayor, I think you're probably thinking too, a couple years ago, that did increase dramatically when we were having some of the issues on the houses and stuff. So it definitely, we did take a point in time that it wasn't a lot, and it did increase.
It's better, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for? Yes.
Quick question, Chief. As far as the alarms are concerned, and I know sometimes if somebody's got their alarm, too sensitive, that those alarms can go off for, you know, something. I happen to notice over the last, say, 6 months or so, by my house at least, the air traffic going around, it seems like I'm getting a lot more air traffic going to Midway. And I'm just wondering, would that have any bearing in, you know, your increase on alarms? Coupled with the fact that, you know, last year when we had those burglaries, that, you know, people are probably putting more alarms in their properties. So you probably see an influx on that as well. Any
I've
correlation
never
on
heard
this
that conversation about air traffic having any influence on calls for service for false alarms. I can check. I have good people that.
You're suggesting that the
right now.
overhead traffic would set off an alarm,
alarm.
a too sensitive an
I don't know
alarm.
if there was just a
I
direct
highly
correlation.
doubt that.
Okay.
I'll check.
And I know you and I talked about it a couple weeks ago. I was at the cleaners getting my cleaning and couldn't believe how many people are jumping out of their cars to run into the cleaners and leaving their cars, you know, unlocked, running. You know, forget about the $2 you're taking out of the coin changer. They're going to take a
Leave your whole
$22,000
car.
car.
Yep.
So is there anything we could do to, you know, get that word out like we do with the lock your car to prevent motor burglary?
It sounds like
I think
we'll have the same
it's
amount
on-
of.
It's been on all the Darien Connects, it's been on
Yeah.
the different types of communication things. I've talked about every time I've come up here. I don't know what more can be done.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll probably have the same success rate as lock your car.
I could see the unlocking to a point, but leaving the car running while you're running into a public store, to me, that just blows my mind.
But you might have a smart key, so like my car, I can leave it running and lock it and take the key with me as well.
No, trust me.
Any other questions for the chief?
Just one quick one. What's the difference between investigative and suspicion on your report here?
Investigative is when the officer is following up on a crime,
Okay.
actually investigating the crime.
Okay.
Or most of the time it's report writing. So they'll take themselves off the current call, put themselves investigative, so then they're available to answer another call for
Okay.
service. Page 5, one of the first places I'll go is Part 1 crimes. And you'll see that for this year compared to last year, we're down 6.7%. And this year in 5-year trend, down 13%. That's good. Those are good numbers to see.
Chief, what's a Part 1 offense and what's a Part 2 offense?
Part 1 offenses are dictated by uniform crime reports done by the FBI. There's 8 of them. 4 are person crimes: murder, sexual assault, robbery, and battery. And there's 4 that are part of the property crime: burglary, theft, motor vehicle theft, and arson. It's a system that the FBI put together so you kind of see the health of the nation in terms of crime, just like GDP's health of this nation on monetary. So it's just a method of looking at crime. There's about 38 crimes that are, so you can have murder, it's reported as murder, but murder, first-degree murder, voluntary manslaughter are all within that category. Same thing with sexual assault. There's 4 crimes that make up sexual assault. So there's a lot of different crimes that make that up. And then Part 2 crimes are really all the other crimes that are there. One of the things to look at is a lot of times, getting back to problem-oriented policing, we'll use Part 2 offenses. That's why I don't get too crazy about whether those numbers go up or down so much, because you can reduce crime quite a bit by telling officers don't make those arrests. That's ridiculous. What you want to do is have those officers make arrests when it's appropriate to kind of broken windows theory, make the arrests on the small things, drive the big things down. So it's important to look at those Part 1 crimes because that's what you're comparing against everybody else. Accidents on page 8, they're down 6.6%, so that's nice to see the accidents going down. And then on the last page, on page 9, again, the violations are going up, especially the moving violations, where a traffic ticket's been issued is up 23%. So moving violations are those type of things that cause accidents. So it's nice to see that officers are out there doing their job and writing those tickets and taking enforcement actions in order to drive down accidents and make sure the driving public is safe.
Chief, I notice a lot of distracted drivers. When I'm out there driving, you just look around you and you see people on cell phones. I realize that's something hard to patrol, but how are we watching that? I mean,
They're up 15%, so the officers are out there writing those tickets. And year to date, they've taken 181 actions against drivers.
Okay.
So.
That's a tough one too, you know.
You know, the other,
It is in some ways. At nighttime, you know, things almost glowing on you, you know, so you can see those things pretty easy. And I think people have kind of a laissez-faire attitude, and they'll look at them when you pull up next to them, whether you're in a squad car or a personal car. You see it all the time.
I know. It's like, it's the law, duh.
Yeah.
And they're
there's a
still on
reason
their,
behind
they're
that
still
law,
on their
too.
phone, yeah,
Yeah.
up to their ear. It's just amazing.
So it's no texting and driving, but what if they're looking at a map or GPS on their phone? Like, how does an
It
officer
needs to be
define whether one or the
hands-free
other?
and deal with that. So trying to keep those devices out of your hands. So if you have, you know, they make different mounts, so you can put it in your vehicle and use that as a device. It'll talk to you most of the times, tell you when to turn and when the turn's coming up 10 miles ahead, 2 miles ahead, 500 feet ahead, whatever it is. So there's a lot of interaction that doesn't require you to use the phone and stare at the phone.
If there's no further questions, Chief, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dan, does anyone have questions for Dan Gombeck? Treasurer Corn?
Dan, I had a question. A couple of residents approached me. There's a semi that seems to be parked on the former Phillips 66 property in front of Brookhaven, and they were wondering whether semi-parking is allowed there, or if it's an advertising sign, or what the status of that was.
Yes, and what you're referring to is an orange trailer that's been in a parking lot probably for about 3 days now. It's part of Brookhaven's operation, Brookhaven Marketplace, that is. Brookhaven Marketplace is currently putting a brand-new roof on that whole side, and it's very congested in the back area, which is adjacent to the water tower, with deliveries, the school that's back there, some of the other businesses, and this roofing company. So kind of there is some mass chaos, per se, with the construction, and it's only temporary. That trailer was not put out in front there for any type of advertising, by no means or no shape.
Okay, so it's just until the work is done behind the store.
Correct. It's supposed to be this week, pending the weather.
All right, any other questions for Dan? Let's move to the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This evening, I'm requesting council's approval of warrant number 161714 in the amount of $755,011.32 from the listed funds, as well as payroll for the periods ended October 27th and November 10th in the amount of $474,076.19, for a total to be approved of $1,229,087.51.
Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Belzak, second by Alderman Shower. Questions? I don't know which one of you to ask, Chief Thomas or Brian. I noticed a new detective's name that I've never seen before, Thayer.
Was he's part of Fiat, and he went along with Detective Foyle Price to New York to deal with the matter.
That was it, okay. Yes, the drug overdose, yeah. Okay, thank you. I thought I knew all the police officers, but by name. Okay. Any other questions on the report? Then we go to the monthly report.
Roll.
Oh, I'm sorry. The roll, please.
Belzak.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
McIver.
Aye.
Clistic.
Aye.
Marquez.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
6 ayes.
The warrant's been approved. Monthly report?
Okay, the monthly report, as well as this gets us 6 months through our fiscal year, and at October 31st reflects general fund year-to-date revenue of $8,981,308, expenditures of $6,098,806, for fund balance of $2,860,196. Water fund year-to-date revenue $3,668,518, expenditures of $2,996,320, for a balance of $272,198. Motor fuel tax fund year-to-date revenue $273,413, expenditures of $167,877. current balance of $374,050. Water depreciation fund, year-to-date revenue $489, expenditures $574,632, for current balance of a deficit of $174,143. Capital improvement fund, year-to-date revenue $245,060, expenditures of $3,012,924, for current balance of $6,192,974.
Any questions for the treasurer on the monthly report? I see the cash reserves are in much better shape.
Then what? They can never be too good. Down a few hundred thousand from last.
The collateral,
Oh,
the collateral, yeah, the collateral is much more, much improved.
Yeah, and we are monitoring that, continuing to monitor that on a daily basis.
Okay, all righty. All right, let's move to standing committee reports. Do the chairman have reports? Alderman Marquez?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Currently, the Municipal Services Committee is scheduled to meet next Monday, November 28th at 6:30 here in the council chambers. Right now, we only have one agenda item.
Yes.
So that may change, but we're going to tentatively say we're going to have that meeting.
Okay. Alderman Shower?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our next admin finance meeting will be held on Monday, December 5th at 6 p.m. in our upstairs meeting room.
And Alderman McIver?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The next meeting of the Police Committee will be on Monday, December 19th, I think. Yeah, at 6 p.m. in the training room in the Police Department across the parking lot. Pending agenda items, tonight's meeting was canceled.
Thank you. Let's move to questions, comments, agenda related. I believe we covered everything during our work session, and I don't believe there's any questions from the audience. So we'll move to old business, and there being no old business, we'll move right to the consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda this evening. First is a motion to grant a waiver of the raffle license bond requirements for the Darien Women's Club. The next is a motion to approve an ordinance levying taxes for general and special corporate purposes for our fiscal year commencing on the first day of May 2016 and ending on the 30th day of April 2017. And the next motion is to approve an ordinance for the levy and assessment of taxes for the same fiscal year for the special service area number 1, known as Terra Hill. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Marquez, seconded by Alderman McIver. The roll, please.
Marquez.
Aye.
McIver.
Aye.
Shower.
Aye.
Belzak.
Aye.
Clistic.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
6 ayes.
All 3 items have been approved, and there is no new business this evening, so do any of the aldermen have questions, comments, or announcements they'd like to make? Alderman McIver?
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't think of this sooner. This was a question for the chief.
Okay.
You know, you brought up the particular incident of the drug overdose, homicide, I guess. And I know that the use of heroin and now I guess it's fentanyl fentanyl is becoming more of a concern with respect to overdoses, and I think it's already doubled in DuPage County this year compared to last year. What are we doing proactively as a police department to educate or, you know, kind of get the word out with respect to the schools that, you know, like Hinsdale South? Is there a program in place for, you know, drug and education?
A specific drug education, no. There's programs that are put on by the school about drug usage and the like to hopefully take care of some of those situations, and there's other community stuff that can happen too.
I know that Our Lady of Mount Carmel had last Thursday had a program
I attended.
on the drug use, trying to wake up parents to, you know, be aware of this issue. I remember 3 years back, I think State's Attorney Berlin, we had a big program at Hinsdale South. I remember. Chief Thomas, is the State's Attorney doing any programs that you're aware of?
I believe so. I don't know what the title or what the status are, but those have been ongoing throughout DuPage County and most of the high schools.
In most of the high schools, they're focused in the high school.
Yeah.
So I'll give you more information when I get
Yeah, I know our church had something a couple years ago, and I think a couple of the Darien police officers actually attended that. You know, it just seems to be really, so the homicide in Darien wasn't related to either one of those drugs?
No, it was a worker, a temporary worker that was residing in Darien for a while, who received something from a friend from New Jersey, New York, New Jersey.
Well, they bounced back and forth between the two. At the time it was sent, it was New York.
Yeah.
But it wasn't either one of those drugs?
No, it was
It
heroin.
was,
Well,
it
oh,
was,
it
it
was
was
heroin.
those drugs, but it was
Okay.
an adult. It was
Okay, it's an adult, right. But even so, I mean, adults can get also addicted. So, yeah, I was just curious if we had some kind of an education program that we were looking at as a community.
The unfortunate part about the meeting we had at Mount Carmel on Thursday is the majority of the room that was in there, they already had loved ones and family members who were in the room that were either family members were victims of their loved ones on the drug or the alcohol abuse. And when we put it out at a church at Mount Carmel, it was see what come talk about to our community about how this is an ongoing issue. And I would have thought I would have seen more people from the community, wanting to know what's going on, as opposed to most of the room in the room knew what was going on already because they were already victims of it. And I think you need to be able to get the message out, to your point and your credit, because the lady that was given the talk knew a lot about what was going on and had a lot of good solutions. They had a couple of officers from, or they weren't sworn police officers, but they did have members from the Naperville PD in attendance for this, and you just learn a whole bunch. Like that fentanyl is a cancer drug.
Yeah, it's about 120% stronger than heroin, so it's a bad deal. And it's also responsible for a lot of injuries to officers because you can inhale it doing any kind of investigative work, and then the officers are out of commission. So it's a bad drug.
And what I didn't know until last Thursday was that you can buy Narcan, which your officers carry to revive somebody from a heroin overdose, but you can buy that Narcan over the counter. Now, obviously, it's expensive, but it almost kind of says, okay, hey, listen, I can go on this, addictive drug. I'm okay. I'll have Narcan with me, when I'm going. And it seems like it's false sense of security, especially if you're able to buy that over the counter.
Well, it's the quandary. As I said, we had this big program at Hinsdale South. It's got to be at least 3 years ago, and it's the quandary. What do you do to wake up parents to get more knowledgeable on this issue? And it always turns out that the ones that show up are the ones that have been affected by the effects. One of their children, a neighbor, something like that. That's the only ones that seem to come to these things. So that's the quandary. How do you get regular parents who think their kids are just fine and may not be, to get them aware of what's going on? How do you do that?
No answer for you.
No answer.
Well, I don't know, if we can just maybe more public service stuff, maybe utilizing our Channel 6, even with some public service message, periodically.
You can hammer all those messages as frequently as you want to, but as long as people's head are in the sand about the issue, they're not going to pay attention. When it's everybody's kid but my own, it's not going to happen. I've been there for 30-plus years and trying to get individuals to be responsible. It almost has to something has to happen in the family. So when something happens in the family, like you're explaining, Kenny, then I'll come out. Trying to get people to be proactive, even proactive. How many times we talk about being proactive? Simply locking the car door. One push of the button and it's done, much less looking at different types of things. And we have some issues. Before we used to have what was called a knock and talk. So we would go and knock on the door and ask to see Johnny's room, ask to see his homework and those type of things, and show parents, see these doodles, these little drawings, these are actually gang information. There's a reason why he only has black and gold clothing in his house. There's all kinds of different things that you can do to try to wake people up. But in a mass, very difficult to do, if not impossible. My hat's off to the schools when they call those individuals in. My hat's off to the churches when they call individuals in and try to make that message heard strong. You saw it in the newspaper. Just last week, just saw a large program. I can't remember what channel it was on, about how kids hide things in pop cans and toothpaste tubes and all kinds of stuff because it's made specifically to hide stuff. So it's a tough nut to crack, and it's nationwide, if not worldwide, and it's tough. Doesn't mean you don't do anything.
Yeah.
It's just tough.
As a former high school administrator and a dean of students at one time, we had a very difficult time convincing parents that it could be an issue with their child. There was a time when the school had more credibility with families. Today, a lot of parents don't want to accept the idea that the school may know something that their child is doing that they don't know. And parents don't want to see failure. They don't want to see their child not doing well, and they have problems with the school communicating those kind of issues. When I was up in the northwest suburbs at Buffalo Grove High School, we had a potential gang issue, and we went to the Board of Education and said we needed to do a program here to get parents aware of the fact that we may have gangs in the northwest suburbs, and the board said no. If you do that, then they might think we have a problem. And we said, we don't have a problem. We want to be proactive. The board says you will do nothing about it. And the next thing we knew, we had gangs in that community. So sometimes people want, like the chief says, they bury their heads in the sand. They don't want it. And this is a kind of community where people want to sit back and say, I live out here in Darien. Doesn't happen in Darien, doesn't happen in Naperville, when in fact, this is where kids have money to go buy stuff like that.
They refer to I-88 as a heroin highway, don't they? Going into the city?
Sometimes it's been known as that.
Right?
He's being real specific tonight. No, I know exactly what you mean. It's just, we can now, I guess we can encourage the high school to put on another program. Well, we can
Well, I think
encourage our churches.
The schools are doing, I think, a yeoman's job of trying to communicate that to parents. I think even the Catholic school, Our Lady of Peace, I know they do things like that over there. The parents just, parents just have to open up their eyes and become aware of that.
All right, any other questions, comments? Do we have any questions, comments from the audience? From our Cub Scouts or from parents? Guys, do you have any questions after watching our meeting tonight? No?
Is it over? That's the question.
Yeah. I saw one big yawn earlier, so.
From which alderman?
I was going to say.
Oh, dear.
Had a long
Okay.
day.
Okay, so all I need is a motion to adjourn. Alderman McIver, seconded by Alderman Shower. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, parents.
It was a good one, Sylvia. I'm going to turn the microphones